welcome to Developmental Psychology, the second, probably third actually, topic in AS Psychology in Unit 1 under Attachments.
Huzzah!
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Liam.
And I'm Joe.
And we're going to take you through attachments today.
We're going on a journey.
We're going on a journey.
It's a
That reminds me of a song.
Yes.
Anyways, let's kick off with a definition of attachment. Joe, what are attachments?
Attachments, if I'll just scroll up. There we go. Attachments are the early relationships and strong emotions that bind parents and babies together.
Ah. Okay, and how are these attachments formed? Well, we can look at a study done by Lorenz, who says that imprinting in newborn animals, that they attach to the first moving thing that they see, usually the mother, and follow them around, and this is called imprinting. Now, what was the procedure of Lorenz's study?
Well, basically, what he did was he had a bunch of goose eggs. He sort of halved them into two groups. He didn't, physically half the eggs. That would be unethical, probably.
There are many ethical implications for this.
Half of the hatched eggs saw him first, and the other half saw the mother goose first. And when these goslings were mixed back up again, each group went to the person they'd seen first. So that sort of proved imprinting was going on.
That's cute. So basically, accepted conclusions of this was that by 32 hours, if no moving thing is seen, you won't attach to anything, and this is called the critical period. The human critical period is up to 2 years.
Yes.
So let's talk about this a little bit. Some other conclusions we can make here are that there is an emotional tie between the infant and an adult. Do you want to carry on?
A reciprocal bond between the two, so it's mutual. The parent feels it too. It's not just the baby.
It's based on interaction and emotional behaviour.
It involves a desire to maintain proximity. So people who are attached want to be close to each other.
It also leads to distress on separation.
Also known as separation anxiety. It resembles imprinting in animals.
Yes, this study does. And we can conclude that attachments have an adaptive function. Yes.
Attachments form basis for later emotional relationships too.
They do. And we can also talk about another short study on 60 babies who received visits once a month for the first year of their life, and then again at 18 months old. And concluded that it takes 7 to 8 months to form attachments.
Which
this
is
gradual development of attachments.
Yeah, much larger than just the critical period alone.
It is. We can evaluate this study quickly. It's high in ecological validity because it was done in the infant's home.
They used triangulation, so they had interviews and questionnaires as well as the study.
But it was carried out in the 1960s, where the mum was often at home, and just the mum, that is, whereas nowadays it could be the father as well. That is called time validity.
Okay, let's move on to types of attachment then.
Okay, so a guy called Ainsworth did something called a strange situation and came up with these types of attachment. Secure attachment.
This is where the mum is what we call a safe base. The baby will the baby will show several characteristics of secure attachment. One of them is separation anxiety, so they'll cry when left alone, and they will welcome the mum's return and settle down to play quite quickly. Securely attached infants are also wary of strangers and treat them very differently to mum. And this constitutes 70% of babies.
That's true. We also have two types of insecure attachments, insecure avoidant and insecure resistant. So what are insecure avoidant?
There's some separation anxiety, but no comfort seeking on the mother's return. They reject the comfort of strangers and generally keep a distance and avoid closeness.
And insecure resistant?
high separation anxiety, but angry with the mum and rejects them upon her return. They alternated between wanting closeness and distance, and it constitutes 15% of babies.
Okay, so Ainsworth found that these types of attachment came about when he did his strains situation, and this was a controlled observational study, and investigates the infant's reaction to separation from a caregiver, the infant's reaction to reunion with a caregiver, the infant's reaction to a stranger, and also the infant's willingness to explore with the caregiver versus with the stranger. And there were many steps to this. Joe, would you like to explain?
Okay, step 1, the mother and the infant enter the room. Step 2, the caregiver, or the mother in this case, watches infant explore room. Stranger enters. Step 3, stranger enters and talks to the caregiver. Stranger interacts with the infant in the presence of the caregiver. Caregiver leaves quietly. Caregiver comes back in and comforts the infant, because by now they're probably, feeling a bit anxious of the separation. The stranger leaves. Caregiver leaves again. Infant left alone in the room. Stranger comes back in and interacts with infant. Caregiver comes back in and picks infant up. Stranger leaves.
Great, so that's all the steps. Now we can evaluate this using a few different evaluative techniques. Firstly, some positives. This strange situation is a very useful tool and replicable. It's replicable, easily replicable, so many people can do it in different places with different samples.
And get similar results.
They can. It also provides a lot of information very quickly, because obviously there's lots of steps, so it's showing lots of different scenarios. However, this Ainsworth's strange situation only used white middle-class infants, so it lacks population validity. It was also done in an unfamiliar environment, so lacks ecological validity and mundane realism, and protection from harm, ethical issue here. The babies obviously experienced high stress levels, so they weren't very protected from harm.
Exactly.
So next we have the maternal sensitivity hypothesis. Would you like to talk about this talks about caregivers and how they impact the attachment types. That's right. So, what are caregivers generally like of securely attached infants?
Well, they're very sensitive to the needs of the infant and respond in an emotionally expressive way when the infant's giving out, what are they called?
Social releases.
That's the one.
Exactly. And caregivers of a insecure resistant infants?
They sort of vary in the way they treat the infant, and the infant can rely on the caregiver.
They can't. And then caregivers of insecure avoidant attachment
are generally uninterested in their infant, rigid in their behaviour, or they're the complete opposite and they're overprotective and suffocate the infant, obviously figuratively, and when the infant doesn't want attention.
Alright, great. And if we evaluate the research that made this hypothesis come about, it was done on a meta-analysis, which is lots of studies together and looking over them. So that's a good thing. It also found a 0.24 correlation between sensitivity and attachment, which is statistically significant.
Yes.
However, it was correlational research, so cause and effect cannot necessarily be established. There could be other things going on, and also they exaggerated the role of the mother here. Obviously, they're just focusing on the role of the mother. It could be a lot of other things that help to define attachment types. Next we have the temperament hypotheses.
Okay, so this is basically, it refers to the infant's relationship with a primary caregiver and can be explained in the terms of the infant's innate temperament. So innate being what they were born with, so it's a genetic factor. Some temperaments are more suited to forming attachments than others.
They are. Now, this is good because it's basically a synthesis of the temperament hypothesis and the maternal sensitivity hypothesis, because the mothers, they both say that the mothers are more sensitive due to the baby's temperament. Also, another good thing about this is that twins have found to have the same attachment type, so this supports the innate temperament idea, that it's genetic. However, on the other hand, different attachments between a father and a mother are possible. So, which one is the child then going to take? Who knows?
It's a mystery.
Yes, so that concludes the first section of Developmental. There's only 4 more to go.
Hooray!